Hello and welcome to the Halcyon Top 5 list, where I count down my top 5 favourite thingamabobs within a subject or topic. And on this episode, I'm going to be looking at the 5 moments in gaming that make gamers whimper, cry silently into their pillows at night, but for reasons that they don't fully understand at first. And as with previous episodes, I'm going to lay down some ground rules for this one. Number 1, it has to genuinely tug at your heartstrings. It can't just be a mass murder or a clear kill of a number of characters to try and get a cheap pug on your heartstrings just for, oh, that's sad, someone died. It has to be more deep-rooted than that. And secondly, they have to be more complex than just sad moments. There has to be more of a reason for you to feel rather than just being sad at someone dying. So it's not just quite as simple as, deaths or anything like that. It has to be something that's nuanced and subtle as well. In other words, they need to make you feel. And as with other previous episodes, special mentions go out to a few instances from my gaming past. One when my batteries died when I completed Pokemon Yellow, spending 10 hours gaming and was sent to bed early, having not chosen to save my progress and having to start again the next day.
Well, I'm out, guys. If this is what's cool now, I think I'm done. I no longer have any connection to this world. I'm gonna go home and kill myself. Goodbye, friends.
And the moment my parents banned me from playing Crash Bandicoot 2 on holiday in a caravan park when I was about 7 or 8 years old, having to spend the rest of my holiday enjoying myself outside, one of the darkest days in all my life.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
In any event, let's check out my top 5 picks for the top 5 moments in gaming that make you feel. Coming in number 5 is a fairly obvious one actually. It's the nuke from Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So in Call of Duty up to this point, despite the improbable odds of the missions you faced, you always more or less got away and more or less always got out alive. In this instance, you dumb diddly do not. After retrieving a downed pilot, you make it to the extraction point and start to fall back. However, a blast and an EMP radius of an oncoming nuclear explosion catches the aircraft and the chopper goes down. What follows is a masterful play on the expectations of gamers everywhere, with news flashes and sound bites commenting on the size and force of the nuclear explosion. But everyone everywhere thought the same thing. If you don't cut back to the soldier, then you died. If you cut back, then you must somehow make it out. Instead, the game teases hope. Your character lives to see the horrors of the explosion, the devastation and the desolate feel of a city rendered lifeless in an instant. Closer to hell on earth than anything else, you crawl out of the wreckage of the helicopter and slowly make your way into the world, with only the wind and your heartbeat audible, until your heart stops, and the wind rushes by as the world fades to white, and you die. It's an amazing feat of complex storytelling to subvert the gamer's preconception that because you cut back, you must live. Instead, the game tries to really impact and show the futility of war on the player, with the character's actions and sacrifices being dashed in an instant of pure carnage, leaving the player with a deep sense of loss and a real feeling of hopelessness, and the player with only really a shot of Sergeant Paul Jackson KIA as a reward to their efforts. It's magnificent and complex and so deep-rooted that most players will play it through over and over again just to experience that final 2 minutes for no other reason than just how special a moment in gaming it was. Coming in number 4 is John Marston's death at the end of Red Dead Redemption. The story of John Marston could only really have had one end, given the nature of the Western genre and the title of the game, but no player was really ready for the way the game would tease salvation for John, only to take it away in lieu of true redemption of his character. After completing the tasks set for you by the government, he returns home to his family, who you've heard but never seen. He lives the life he promised himself he would, and the game has an odd feeling of being over but somehow still continuing, until the real motivation of the developers comes into view. The government returned to tie up loose ends by killing Marston, and despite a valiant effort to drive them off, realises the futility of this plan, instead opting to send his family to safety and embracing his fate. Stepping out into the line of fire, firing his gun one last time to take down as many as he can in his final stand. The moment comes with no music, no fanfare, no fancy graphics, and is not framed in any other way than to show him in his moment of redemption. As he runs out of bullets, and the rain of returning fire cakes him in a sea of lead, leaving him a bloodied and bullet-riddled mess, his gasps, his staggered breathing as his lungs struggle to sustain him in his final moments of defiance, against the backdrop of a cold, uncaring antagonist savouring his death, only serve to glue the players to their seat as they see this man struggle and ultimately die. And despite his son's later act of vengeance evening the score, the fact that the scene in of itself could have easily been a fitting end to the tale, it sets itself apart from other Rockstar titles that they've produced, and is a character arc that still resonates with an audience that is eagerly awaiting the second Red Dead Redemption game. John Marston's redemption is one of the saddest and most somber in any game of the last generation, or indeed of the last 20 years in gaming. Number 3 is a generic entry that is more specific once you get to the nub of it. It's Morden's death in Mass Effect 3. Now, yes, I hear you cry. This moment can technically be avoided, but the moment I experienced sat with me for far longer than I ever imagined it would. And yes, other deaths in the series resonate hard with the fans, such as Thane's, Caden or Ashley's, or even Grunt's nearly death that turned into a badass moment of his own. But the fact that up till that moment, Morden was just a character I suspected would live on. He was the most unique companion you did not want to and was the guy who made you laugh as well as enlightened you, and could kick all kinds of ass while doing those things. The moment is epic, with such a series of battles and fights leading up to the finale of this act, defeating a Reaper by setting a giant legendary Thresher Maul on it, as well as killing countless enemies and navigating an ancient maze to get to an ancient Krogan monument to cure the Genoflage and restore the Krogan to their former glory. However, as they arrive, Morden realises he must complete the cure manually, as explosions rain around him and he realises that there's no other way than to sacrifice himself to save an entire species, and yet does so with a smile and a song in his heart. And more than this are the little things about the moment itself, the confidence in which he approaches his fate, taking a breath on the way up, executing his work without hesitation, fully accepting of the fact that he's going to die. The way he sings his song, that in the second game was a source of humour but now has become his haunting final ballad. And the cheeky way in which he addresses Shepard as he attempts to deter him is simply magnificent. The fact that he died and there was nothing I could do to save my friend from himself and his own pursuit of personal redemption from what he considered to be the crimes of his past was heartbreaking. And the final goodbye being marred by the urgency and action of the scene only made his death harder to process, given the frustration I felt in trying to stop him from going. I teared up watching this, and to this day it gives me chills, as the Mass Effect theme does its best to assure gamers he's gone somewhere better and his sacrifice wasn't in vain. But instead I find myself loading up Mass Effect 2, forgetting it ever happened and crying myself to sleep that night.
Temperature now within acceptable range. Dispersal commencing.
Personal science studies range from urban to agrarian. I am the very model of...
Just being picked to the top spot at number 2 is the Joker's death at the end of Batman Arkham City. This too is a moment that is a complete contradiction of what gamers everywhere expected, what gamers thought they wanted, right up until the moment they got the moment. The Joker and Batman have collided once again, only this time Batman has the power of life and death over the Joker in a way he never has before, holding the cure to a disease the Joker has been dying from, and that he himself has just recently been cured from. In a moment of reflection where Joker gleefully gloats, "We all know you'll save me," as a clear nod to the audience's awareness of Batman's previous choices and attempts to try to save the Joker, Batman debates the merits of holding to his code by saving him, or letting him die for the greater good until the choice is taken away from him. The Joker strikes, stabbing Batman in the arm, and inadvertently causes Batman to drop the vial, killing the Joker's last hope of keeping his life, desperately clawing at the spilt cure, angrily scolding Batman before sharing a laugh of irony as Batman admits, indeed he would have saved him, and therefore he's in effect killed himself. The Joker laughs, exclaiming how funny it is, coughing and gasping for air that just won't come, until he lets out his last gasp, dying with a grin still etched on his face, and a low drone washing over as the realization that the Joker is finally dead, and a great evil has left this world, yet somehow leaves an uneasy feel with the player. The following scene is one that is layered with tones of victory, loss, sadness, and uncertainty in a score that is beautiful as it is haunting, with Batman carefully carrying his fallen foe, laying him on the bonnet of a police car for all to see before walking off, not uttering a single word, clearly unsettled and distraught at the events that he's just witnessed, not even thinking to grapple away as he normally does. It's a scene that is epic and still so amazing given he stayed dead, which is kind of counter to what normally happens in comics, keeping the impact of this ending even to this very day, and one that still both haunts and delights its audience in its intricacies, and the crescendo of a rivalry that defined both characters, and it is an ending that is befitting of a game as amazing as Arkham City.
What the hell happened in there? Batman! What happened?
So what's coming in at number 1? What's the most complex, deep, emotional, heartfelt moment in all of gaming? Well, I'm cheating a little bit because I'm including the prior 15 minutes that led up to the moment. It's Booker DeWitt's sacrifice at the end of BioShock Infinite. This moment is very hard to explain without being a quantum physicist and without educating people on 20 hours worth of pontification and narrative. And even more than those two issues is the fact that in truth this moment is more like 15 minutes of a reveal that is told in the most daunting, beautiful, eye-opening, jaw-dropping and spine-tingling way I've ever experienced in a game. But to try and sum it up shortly, Booker DeWitt goes on a journey through space and time with Elizabeth, his companion. A girl he was sent to rescue, and at the end of the game gains the ability to see through the fabric of the multiverse. In doing so, she reveals the series of events that led them to this point, and due to a series of revelations, the story of Booker comes into focus. He sold his daughter Anna to an alternate version, evil version I might add, of himself called Comstock, who grew up to become Elizabeth herself. The guilt of this drove him to come to the floating city of Columbia in the first place to rescue her. Only the events that unfolded messed with his memory to the extent he could no longer remember the series of events in the order that they occurred. And having made a commitment to stop these events from ever occurring in the first place before this realization, or indeed any other universe, he promises to kill Comstock before he can set these events in motion, unwittingly setting out to kill himself in the process. And this is slowly revealed to the player through what is in effect a prolonged interactive cutscene. The emotions you feel are wide and varied. You begin feeling nostalgic at revisiting Rapture, the underwater city of the original games, then wonder and awe at the multiverse being opened by Elizabeth and the infinite number of doors, lighthouses that inspired the game, onto confusion as the link between Booker, Comstock and Elizabeth is revealed, to horror at the realization of what must happen to stop the pain suffered by Elizabeth and millions of others due to the events set in motion. Elizabeth, and in multiple incarnations of her, appear and drown Booker at the moment he became Comstock, and they fade away from existence as he dies. This moment is so complex and deep in its meaning and impact, I legitimately contemplated it for at least a week after and left me so satiated and drained emotionally and mentally, I had no will to replay the game for months after because of how good it was. Now, I'm a sucker for happy endings, and there is a cutscene that shows Booker awaking to hear the cries of Anna in her crib, meaning that perhaps he made it home and now has a chance of true redemption, which, again, legit made me happier than hell. But for a moment at the end of the game, the weight of the story is so immense that nothing I have played since has come close to making me feel as much as I felt when I completed Bioshock Infinite. It is the biggest gaming feel moment ever, and if you disagree, go onto YouTube and watch the 15-minute segment in its entirety for yourself, and come back to me once you've dried your tears, Petal.
Anna? Is that you?
And those were my top 5 picks. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry if I made you inadvertently sad while watching this video. Don't worry, it's gaming. You can just restart and you'll be absolutely fine. Please like, share, subscribe this video. As I've mentioned in a couple of previous episodes, I'm sponsoring a few other channels, so make sure you check out the links in the description below and go check out some of the other channels. Trust me, it's good content. It's not crap like my channel. It's really, really good, well-produced, quirky content that I think is going to be a little bit different from the mass-produced stuff that you've seen recently. Secondly as well, I want to say thank you to everyone that's subscribed recently and liked and shared. It's really boosted the channel's ratings. I'm getting consistently good views, which is awesome. In the meantime, again, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next top 5 list.